Hello, folks, and welcome back to the Bibbs Corner Film Podcast. I'm your host, as always, Mike Bibbins. On Twitter, at Bibbs Film for all the movie stuff. And this is episode 2 of the film podcast, trying to get this thing rolling. I watched another movie. This time it was Run on Hulu. Run is a movie that was released when Hulu was releasing a bunch of horror movies. It stars Sarah Paulson from American Horror Story and newcomer Kiera Allen as her daughter. Sarah Paulson is a personal favorite of mine, so that's why it caught my attention. But Allen is, again, a newcomer, and she does an amazing job in this movie as well. Now, in the movie, Allen's character is in a wheelchair. So I did some research to confirm that she actually is a wheelchair user, and that made me happy. And I know that sounds weird, but we talk about representation in film and in media all the time, and when a role for a person with a disability comes up, it's important to me that you actually cast someone who does have a disability, because that community is in the acting community and they deserve opportunities as well. So when you have an opportunity to give that role directly, because that's what the role calls for, you have to do it. You have to do it in those situations. So again, definitely glad to see her get that opportunity, and she definitely made the most of it. I don't want to spend a ton of time on the setup, so let's get straight to this elevator review, and then we'll take a quick break and get into the real review. And again, I'm trying to watch my time on these elevator reviews because I don't stick to my plan all the time. So here we go. Run is a movie that could have gone off the rails many times throughout, but avoids doing so. There are several moments in this film where you're going to think, oh my gosh, I can't believe they're about to do this, and then they don't. As it stands, I thought it was a great thriller with good pace, an interesting storyline, not as predictable as you're gonna think it is going as you go, and strong characters. I like the characters. So with that, we'll take a quick break and then we'll get into the actual review. All right, welcome back. So, getting into Run, I'll start with the synopsis. The movie begins with Sarah Paulson's character in a hospital. She has had a baby girl, and the doctors are working very hard to save that baby. You can tell it's a premature child, most likely. The baby's tiny, and the scene kind of ends with Sarah Paulson's character being wheeled over to the baby in an incubator. The baby's like breathing, but you can tell it's a little labored. And, she looks back at the doctors, and you can't see the doctors. You can just tell you see their bodies. The focus is just on her and the baby. And she turns around, she's in a wheelchair. She turns around to the doctor and says, or actually she just looks at the baby and says, is she going to be okay? And the doctors don't say anything. And then she turns around, and that's how the scene ends. Flash forward, and Paulson's character is in some kind of support group, and they don't let you know initially what the support group is for, and I'm going to do my best not to give it away either. But basically, they're in the support group. They want you to start questioning what kind of support group this is. You listen to a lady tell a story, and you can't tell exactly what's going on. And then they try to call Sarah Paulson's character, who is doing everything but paying attention. And whatever the issue is that they're there for, she's completely over it. She's not paying any mind. She thinks that her situation is fine. So then she goes home, and you meet her daughter, Chloe, who is very alive, but also has many ailments and disabilities. They actually in the scene after not even a scene. After the first scene with the baby in the incubator, the screen goes black and it shows you like the definitions of different disorders and issues. So asthma, I think, was one of them. Paralysis is one of them. Like different, basically telling you all the issues that the child is going to be dealing with. So now she's 17 or 18, and I'm gonna say 17 because she's in high school, her senior year, and she's a smart girl, but she gets up every morning, takes her medicine, clears out her lungs, hits the inhaler, like they show her, her routine, and she is a very bright and capable girl. The house has been set up so that she can get around in her wheelchair, all that stuff. So she's been applying and waiting to hear back from colleges, and she hasn't gotten any word yet. And she's obviously getting anxious. It's a tough point in the child's life when you're sending those applications out. You've never had to do anything like this really before, and you're just waiting for someone to say that they want you, pretty much. So around this time, Chloe is very anxious about going to college, and now she's about to find out something about her mother that is going to make her question everything about her life. I did not watch the trailers before going in. I can imagine the trailer may have given away something important. And actually, you know what? I had said I was going to start looking at maybe like playing the audio of the trailers when I do these reviews. So let's see if I can do that. YouTube. We're gonna try that. We're gonna try that out. Give it a trial run and go from there. Let's see. And if I'm gonna see if the trailer gave away anything.
Am I a burden? What? Hey, what is going on? You do everything for me. It's not fair. I'm your mom. It's my job to take care of you when you need me. And you need me. Mom?
So far, so good.
You may not understand this right now, but I am doing what I know is best for you. I know that I've scared you, but I will spend every minute of our lives making sure you never feel that way again.
It's actually not bad
I'm your
at
mom.
all. Okay, that was actually not bad at all. I could have watched that trailer and not have gotten the movie ruined for me. So, again, that was the first time I've played a trailer in one of these. So, we'll see how it comes out, and then I'll make a decision on if I continue to do that going forward. But, yeah, so let me see here. There are a lot of twists and turns in this movie. I mentioned earlier that you're going to expect it to go a certain way at multiple points, and then it's not going to do exactly what you thought. But yeah, Chloe realizes something isn't right very early, and she plays it like a sheltered child would. She is homeschooled, so she doesn't have like friends she can reach out to, things like that, which makes this more realistic. They make it clear she doesn't have a cell phone, which means she can't just reach out to other people. She doesn't have instant access to the internet, things like that. But she realized something isn't correctly early, so she asks her mom about it. And Paulson's character reacts like a successful scammer would, acts, blows it off, or has like the perfect excuse, etc., and so forth. Now, I mentioned that Kiera Allen, who plays Chloe, the daughter, is in a wheelchair. She's a wheelchair user, and she actually does have a few stunts in this movie that were enhanced for me after the fact when I found out that she really is a wheelchair user. That were pretty intense, actually. I'm very impressed with them in keeping those scenes in or writing those scenes for someone with a disability, when I feel like most writers, when they write those types of scenes, either do it completely unrealistically to where they don't seem to understand how a person with these types of disabilities would operate, or completely avoid writing them because they don't think that they would be capable of those things. So I appreciate her getting that opportunity to do some of the physical stunts that were done. I also, like I said, enjoyed that they kept things within reason to a certain degree. There's only a few scenes where you have to question, like, why would X, Y, Z happen in this scenario? So, and that was mostly at the end when they're kind of bringing the story together and revealing some things that take the twist even further than the obvious. Like, so there's going to be some quick, pretty obvious stuff. They give it away very early, and then what's happening with the mom. And so then the question is, how is Chloe going to navigate this issue for most of the movie? But then later in the movie, you find out some other stuff, and it's like, okay, well, that's even worse, or that's a game changer. And I'm doing my best not to spoil. I'll save that detail for the spoiler portion of the review. But in the end, there are a few things I don't think was necessary, especially the very, very ending of the movie. I didn't think that was necessary at all. You can debate some of the other stuff, but the very, very end of the movie was completely unnecessary. I don't think it added anything. I think it took away, if anything. But overall, I enjoyed it. On my first run through, I'll probably give it it's somewhere in that 3.5, 4 range for me. I haven't quite decided yet. I'm leaning towards a 4, actually, because I enjoyed it. It's a movie I definitely could have watched with my family and like had a good time speculating about, what's going to happen next or how she's going to get out of this, etc., and so forth. As a sibling of a person with disabilities and the child of a mother who has to care for a child with disabilities, I appreciated the detail that went into their daily lives. So yeah, with that said, I'm gonna not ramble. I feel like I tend to do that, so I'm gonna not ramble. I'm gonna cut this portion off, and then we'll come back with some spoiler stuff. Okay, so now that we've reached the spoiler section of the podcast, I can loosen up. I can start saying things and giving things away. Again, I always try to kill the first minute of the spoiler section because I want to give you an opportunity to exit the podcast. If you have not seen the movie, please exit the podcast. Come back after you've seen it. I don't like spoiling movies. I don't want to spoil movies. And there's, especially with a movie like this, there's some big twists and turns that you're not going to want to know ahead of time. I would prefer that you watch the movie before you come back and see my interpretation of different things, etc., and so forth. So we're close to that minute, so I'm going to start talking. The elephant in the room that has to be addressed when it comes to this movie, especially with it being on Hulu, is that you're going to get very strong vibes of The Act with Joey King, the true story of Ruby. Can't think of what her actual name is, but basically it's a Munchausen story, right? So that part is known very quickly, is that we got a Munchausen situation, but how is she going to get out of this type of thing? So they give that away early, so I'm fine with talking about it that openly. I almost put it in the regular story, but it is what it is. if you've seen the act, you're definitely going to get those vibes, but it does not go the way of the act, obviously. So you have the Munchausen, but then late in the movie, you get that big reveal that she was also kidnapped at birth. Like, damn. Like, the Munchausen wasn't enough. We had to also have this girl be kidnapped and realize that she wasn't raised by her actual mother. Like, that's tough. That's tough. So, with that said, Sarah Paulson having a box of info detailing everything about what she did, like, the box had everything that the child would need to know what happened and all that. It had the death certificate for Sarah's actual child, the one that we see at the beginning. It had a photo of her as a little girl running around. I guess she's supposed to not remember that. So because she's in a wheelchair, remember, she's thinking her legs don't work, and now she sees like a picture of her as a child walking and running. There's a newspaper clipping of two parents distraught that their child was stolen from a hospital. So these are her actual parents, and now she's got information that she was stolen. Basically, she has confirmation that Sarah Paulson would have been at the hospital at that time, but that her child passed away. You have information regarding who her parents are, so if she does escape, she can find her real parents, do a DNA test, and la. She also, in this room where Sarah Paulson keeps her at this point in the movie, finds the acceptance letter from the University of Washington that she had been waiting on, sitting in the trash. Like, everything that she needs to know that her mom is trash and that she needs to get out of there is right there available to her. There's a closet of just pills and toxins. Like, I don't know what Sarah Paulson's job. She's supposed to be like a substitute teacher or some crap. Like, she's got a closet full of like biological weapons, basically. Like, I truly don't understand. It was a lot. It was a lot. So then the next phase of that is, and this is after the mailman scene. I'm gonna go back. The mailman scene. When the mailman disappears, did no one come looking for him? Like, I know they weren't like right outside their house, but I'm supposed to believe that this road that they were on is either completely unbusy because she had enough time to argue with the mailman, enough time to drug the mailman, enough time to somehow move the mailman into her vehicle or in maybe his, I don't know, and get her daughter drugged and into a vehicle and leave the scene, carry him into her house, carry her daughter into the house, chain her up, and during all of this time, nobody came through there. So if we say that, that means that she's probably in a secluded type area. So if she's in a secluded type area and he doesn't show up, I would assume somebody would eventually come looking for him. And they're going to have limited options on where he could be. So with that part not happening, I mean, again, we don't know the timeline, but I would imagine it took her at least a few hours to get between knocking everybody out, carrying everybody to the house, chaining her daughter up, eventually killing the mailman, which I believe we see, and then packing her daughter up or trying to pack her daughter up to leave again, or the daughter being drugged, or that whole scene where the daughter like finds a way to get herself out of that house, and then going to the hospital. Like, during all that time, nobody raised suspicion on her as the person that did whatever happened to the mailman. That a little bit bothered me, but I can get past that because the pacing was going. Then when she makes the person code down the hall at the hospital so that she can get the nurse to leave her daughter's room, like 500 doctors and nurses are running to this one room. Like, is that really how hospitals operate? I can't imagine that that's actually how something goes. You got this girl on suicide watch that has let you know she needs something and she's trying to write it out for you, and you just leave in the middle of that. Yeah, that part also disturbed me. And then when you get to the very end, after everything is resolved and you see the girl years later doing a lot better for herself, she's an adult now, she's doing real big grown woman things, got a husband, a career. I don't know if she's a doctor, maybe she is, but she goes to visit Sarah Paulson's character in the prison and gives her pills and tells her to open wide. Like, for what? Like, you're obviously the person that did this if she does this. How are you getting out of there? How is this not going to come back on you if she takes these pills and dies or whatever? Like, that was just dumb to me. That was the worst part of the movie. The only part of the movie that made me say, really, and, like, completely, like, this was... I could have done without that. Like, they could have just had the girl enjoy her life from there going forward, and everything would have been fine. Yeah. So I'm gonna shut that down. The very ending was the worst part of the movie. Without that, I thought it was a very good movie. I enjoyed it. I'm not gonna say necessarily very good, but very entertaining is what I'll say. Sarah Paulson is great as always. Like I said, Kiera Allen did her thing. So I would recommend it. I definitely would recommend it if you like those type of thrillers. If you're this far into the review, then you hopefully have already seen it. But yeah, I'm going to shut this down. Thank you again for tuning in. I'm not sure what I'm going to watch next. We'll see. There's some big movies coming out this coming week. So, man, I'm excited to get back to watching movies. I'm excited to be back watching movies, I should say. A lot of stuff coming. Peace.